So LegalZoom, and I just talked about this when we talked about Clio, how LegalZoom is really happy. We were talking about their Q1 2024 earnings call transcript, and they said how their books to tax platform had a net promoter score of 59, and how they were getting 17% of their tax software or tax clients were importing from QuickBooks, but 17% were coming in from LZBooks. So LegalZoom had their own bookkeeping software and platform. Well, this week they had layoffs and they shut down the whole LegalZoom tax branch. Like it's all shut down. They're not doing the bookkeeping,
Wow.
shut it all down.
Like they spent years building this thing. This was the competitor to QuickBooks Live, and it's done.
And so they had their press release, and the press release didn't say what they shut down. Maybe they learned from Intuit not to put too many details in the press release, but they said, so they announced restructuring efforts that result in a 15% reduction of its global workforce. But I did a little Googling. I didn't know in July the CEO, Dan Wiernikov, departed. He was a former Intuit executive. Sasan wound up becoming the CEO and Dan left. I think it was like a competition between those two to be the next Intuit CEO. And obviously there was lots of Intuit people there. They bought that accounting firm. Obviously they were on this march, but in July, it kind of quickly departed. And I think the stock was at an all-time low. And obviously this may not be going as well as it was, but the conference call in January seemed like this was, or not January, it'd be the end of Q1, seemed like books to tax was a great thing at LegalZoom. So very confusing. I think you've always said this. It's very hard to software a service business.
Yes.
It's very, very hard.
I like the way you said that. I don't think I said that. You coined that phrase, David. It's hard to software a service business.
Well, it's Uber, right? It's very hard to do this because you need people. It's very hard to do this.
And these companies are realizing that running a bookkeeping business, even a relatively low-end bookkeeping business, is extremely difficult to maintain quality, to standardize, to try and scale something like that and to do it profitably inside of a LegalZoom is very, very difficult. And I think that's why we've seen QuickBooks Live pivot from the hundreds of dollars a month offering where it's we do it for you to the $50 a month offering where it's we do it with you. Because the we do it with you is a lot simpler and you're not committing to do stuff when the client isn't there. And they're going to leave that low-end bookkeeping work, let's call it Main Street business bookkeeping work, because there's nothing low-end about it. It's just these are smaller businesses. They're going to leave that to the ProAdvisors, which is what they should have done in the first place, and not created all that tension between themselves and the accountants who are so loyal to QuickBooks products.
And it's also different because QuickBooks has a business model where they're selling a monthly subscription to a software. So if Intuit takes a little bit of a loss on bookkeeping, but it helps a small business owner be a little bit more successful, they just stay on QuickBooks their whole life because they're not going out of business. It's a different model.
It's a really good point. It reduces churn. That's the value of a QuickBooks Live service for Intuit.